All right, Cindy, I'm about to sign off, but it's going to continue to record and go ahead and have at it. I'll just moderate, and if there's public comments, I'll let people speak and that sort of thing at that time. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Let me stop my video.
Okay, Tom, are you on there?
Yeah, I am, but I don't know why the picture isn't.
Okay, well, you're there, so work on your picture. Sounds like everything's ready. Sandy, you ready?
I am.
Okay. A couple of things that will be helpful for using this type of communication is when you're not speaking, if you turn your mic off. Two things that'll do. One is I'll see you reaching up to turn your mic on, so I know you want to talk. And the second thing is if you're shuffling papers or anything, it tries to bring you into the picture. So,
hey, give me a second here. How did I?
okay. Cindy, I have a picture of you in front of me that seems to be stuck on my screen.
If you're on your phone, it should be at the bottom. There should be a little microphone where you just touch the screen and it shows up.
So you want me to turn my voice off?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Chris, if you're the host, you should be able to mute her as well. Help her out.
Should I shut this off?
Okay, I think you're good.
Okay, well, of course, the very first thing we're going to do is call a roll call, so we'll need to be turning her mic back on in a moment. So,
okay.
All right, thank you, Chris. All right, call this meeting to order. First of all is roll call.
All right, let me unmute her. Oh my God. No, cat, no. Uh-oh. Roll call. Oh, I can't get to it. Meeting settings.
Is Tom in the same room as her? He could just unmute himself and she could talk through his mic.
Barron?
Here.
Hainstock?
Here.
Forrest?
Here.
No, where is that? Yeah, okay.
You can talk to them.
Did Forrest answer?
Yeah.
Meyer?
Here.
Mosier?
Here.
All right, thank you. The first item is to approve the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda by anyone?
Rich, I just had a question about 7A, the communications agenda, and yet there's no information tied to it. I'm wondering if that's on the right utility agenda. Should it be over on the electric side, or is it really intended to be on the communication side?
There's some information for both.
Okay.
Yep, good question though. Okay. Look for a motion and a second for approving the agenda.
So moved.
Okay.
I didn't catch who it was. Maybe I'm just gonna have to ask people to move in the seconds tonight. Who was it made the motion? Gerald. And second was, hold your fingers up. Mike Barron, okay. Motion was made by Gerald, second by Mike Barron to approve the agenda. I'm gonna use Bud's method. I'm gonna use roll call, and if I don't hear any negative, I'm gonna assume it's unanimous. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Hearing no no's, I take it that it was a unanimous approval of the motion. Looking for a motion for the consent agenda. For a couple new members, we take a motion to approve the consent agenda, and then we talk about all three items under the consent agenda. And hopefully we can pass the motion in with those three items. So anybody just hold up a finger for a one and I'll say who you are. Melissa made the motion to approve the consent agenda, second by Kim. Perfect. Okay, first thing under that is receive and file communication board meeting minutes for March 10th. Everyone have a chance to read that? Are there any questions or comments? See heads shake no. Let's see, I need to find a picture of Mike Barron. I don't have him up here. Nope. There he is. Okay. I'm not going to get you together. Anyway, sorry. So if there's no questions on them, board minutes, number B, approve invoices. Everyone received a list of invoices. Tom, are there any additions to these invoices?
Yeah, there is. There'll be some bills I just got in today. The ones that are on the iVent one, there's the iVent office. There's one for the hut. There's one for a sewer unclog. Most of those are, that total's probably under $600, but I do have one big one here that I got today that Curtis was able to find for me, which was for a National Cable Television Cooperative. It has to do with 300 set-top boxes, and the base rate I think was $42,000. I'm not sure. I got to find out what tax rate they're doing to us, but it's close to $46,000. That didn't get on there, and that needs to get paid before we meet again.
Okay, these are the very first set-top boxes we purchased?
No, we purchased some others, but we purchased 200 from another firm, and then we had to buy so much equipment from NCTC because we're a member of that, and this took care of that obligation, and I've been having trouble getting everything from them. So this one would have been a big one from them, and then I don't think we have to buy from them anymore unless we want to.
Okay, any other board members have a question for Tom about these additions? No, I see head shaking. Okay, any questions in the rest of the list of the invoices? Is your mic working, Mike Barron? I'm shocked.
Sure, here you go. Vinton newspaper, is that for publishing our minutes?
Correct. Yes.
So we're not advertising with them yet?
We've done advertisement with them in the past.
I haven't seen any of the last few meetings.
No, it was done earlier than this.
But we're still advertising, we're just not using them right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure what we were advertising in the past, but we've used them in the past. I'll have to look up and see.
I just asked last meeting and you were going to start checking into both, and I didn't see any this meeting.
As the guy that's coordinating the marketing, we have not done any advertising in the Vinton newspaper. The only advertising we've done the past few weeks has been on some Facebook stuff.
Okay, we've got Vinton today's got some bills there, so I assume we're still advertising there.
That's great.
Probably.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions from Mike or anybody else on the board? No, shaking your head no. Okay, we'll go on to C, receive and file March financial report.
I see they moved the bills into work in progress, so
Yes.
that's why the balance sheet looks a little better and the P&L looks a little worse. Or I guess it looks better now because all the expenses off there.
Yes, I take it that, Cindy, did you have a meeting with the auditor so you knew where to put that, or you just
Yes.
figured that out?
I talked to the auditor, Ryan, and he suggested the work or construction in progress as the asset to go to. And so that's where, that's where you see the big $1,322,000 work in progress.
Okay, great, thank you. That's what we've been waiting to get on there. Any other questions on the March financials? Not hearing any or seeing any heads nodding. So we have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Again, I'll use the same format. How about if I just ask for negative votes only, otherwise we'll assume it's all positive. Is that acceptable to the board? All those opposed say no. I will take that as a unanimous vote to accept the consent agenda. Number 4, receive and file communications.
Don't have any?
Neither Cindy or Tom?
No.
Okay. The communications that I have will come up later on under the community assistance options, so I'll just say those for then. Any other board member have anything that they received from the public that should be mentioned now? Okay, shaking heads no. It is number 5, time to go to citizens input. So Chris, you're back on board. Anybody out there?
Okay, I'm going to check here for participants. If anybody wishes to speak to the board at the time, now speak to them. Now is the time. There's a little button at the bottom of your screen that shows a little hand up. And if anybody wishes to speak, just press that, and then I can go ahead and unmute you and put your camera on and go ahead and proceed. So now's the time for that. I'm looking for the little hands. Anybody? Anybody? Okay, so far I'm not seeing anybody at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chris. What we'll do is if somebody happens to have a thumb up in the next, say, 30 seconds or something that we're still trying to figure it out, we'll come back to them. Otherwise, we'll move on. Thank you, sir. That leads us to item number 6, old business update from FAR Technology. Anyone out there to talk about that?
Well, Dave was on there, and I don't know where he went.
Okay. Oh,
Dave is on his way. He lost connection, but he's on his way. He's coming in quickly.
Okay. Unmute.
Sorry, did you want to talk to me? Get kicked out.
We're
I
up
figured
to you.
Kim kicked me out.
Yes, Dave, we are to the part of the agenda where it's an update from FAR, so you're on.
Oh, okay, so I got on just in time. Basically, they're moving along, weather permitting. They're still planning on Central having construction complete end of May. So we're cruising right along.
that's a kind of a nice, concise report we like to get. Very, very definitive. Any questions by any board member for anybody from FAR or Dave?
Yeah, this is Gerald. Since I'm new to the board this month, does that include all of the drops to houses, or what's the count now from a drops perspective? Do we change that scope? Do you know?
I've forgotten. I don't have that in front of me either. From last Thursday, Tom,
Yeah,
we had count.
At one point in time, we weren't doing all of the drops. I'm just curious if we are now. I thought we were. I thought that was a discussion last time before I was.
Yeah, I think everybody that will let us on their property, we're going to do, is
Awesome.
my understanding.
And that's by end of, you said May?
That's what we'd hope for, yeah.
Cool.
There might be a few stragglers. Obviously, the real key is kind of like we're having some of the ones that signed up and then they won't let us do a site survey. So it's kind of like, okay, guys, you got to let us on your property. We can't trespass.
Conduit and fiber or just conduit, Dave?
That's a duct for now. And then if they sign up for services, we'll put the fiber in.
Okay.
Well, I think we voted to put the fiber in where there was empty ducts and nobody signed up or not. That was voted on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, then they'll be putting the fiber in there too and putting it up to the house. So we wouldn't probably, if they haven't signed up for full services, we wouldn't go in the house, but we'd loop the fiber in the panel outside the house, the clamshell unit.
And Dave,
whenever they sign up for service, they'll be ready to go.
Just looking at my notes from that call last week, there were 600 drops installed.
Oh, thank you.
Last week's called, so
yeah.
Call.
So Gerald, to more fully answer your question, my understanding is that by the end of May, they will have all the conduits and the ducts in, as they call it, and then they will go kind of pull the fiber by zones because they want the ductwork people out of the way before they start pulling the fiber so they're not running into each other. I should think they're getting close to where they can start pulling fiber. So that brings me the question to Dave Frigley. Do you know if Central or the fiber pulling crews have an idea of when they will start pulling fiber?
I will get you that answer. I'm not sure. I think they're already, if they're not on site, they're pretty close to being on site to be pulling any additional fiber into those other sites. Once we get those mainline ducts run, they can pull all those other FSCs in. So I know there were more crews showing up, but I don't remember exactly on the fiber.
That was my understanding, is that they would be moving in as they have a place to work, and they are having a place to work now. So that's really all we need to know.
We should be pretty close behind, but I will get you a more definitive answer to you.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Maybe before this meeting's over, if I can do this right.
Is that new company, J&L, are they doing fiber or are they doing duct work? I've seen a new truck in town, or a new name.
Mm-hmm.
Well, J&L can do either one, but I believe they're doing drops.
Okay, I thought maybe they came in to start.
Well, they might be doing duct work. I take that back. They might be doing duct work right now because J&L can do either one. Okay. I know we've used, I've seen vendors use them as a sub a lot for drops too.
Yeah. Okay.
So just a follow-on question, if I can. Mm-hmm. So that's the drop side, and you were talking about the core ring too, and I don't remember. I don't remember the design. It's been too long since I've looked at this, but are there multiple rings that are the core, that make up the core? Is it by region or a single ring?
There's a single ring that connects all of the splitter cabinets.
Okay. And is that in place already?
Yes. Yes, okay. That was done already last fall.
Oh, okay. And then is it by zone that we're lighting out the distribution?
Now at this point, it's pretty much as they sign up. And once we get started actually turning up people, but they'll put the drops in obviously any place we can put them. And then when we start doing full conversions, at this point, we were going to try to do everything by zone, but I think at this point, it'll just be, they'll go into an area. It might be in one zone, but for the most part, whatever they can get lined up for a schedule, they'll go do. So they won't probably be able to walk the street and go right down a block by block, but which they'd like to do, but it's not that big a town. They can get from site to site pretty fast.
Yeah. So is there anything required at the first level of distribution? I don't remember what you called that. Or is that all passive? Is it really just from the subscriber to the CO that turnups happen, or is there something that has to happen at the distribution point?
So it is a passive optical network. So at those splitter cabinets, there's connections there, and there's some equipment in there, and then that all comes back to the CO and then out to the world. But
the reason I'm asking, I'm just wondering if it's possible to turn up by region or not. I just don't know.
well, you could technically turn up, each FSC, individually, but in effect, they're all going to be ready to go. But when you actually turn up a customer, you're going to make a connection at the CO at the frame.
Okay.
As well as at the splitter, we need to have that identified. Exactly which fiber is coming out of the splitter into the main fiber that's coming back.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate
You
it.
bet.
Any further questions for FAR Technology? I see head shaking no. So we will move on. B is update from IMON on our contracts. I believe Corey's on there.
I am. Can you
You're
hear me
fine.
okay? I have a new microphone today.
I can hear you fine.
Okay, good. So wanted to give, I think obviously the voice, the video, the data, the internet rather, from our standpoint, that's been ready. The key update as far as the billing system goes and the overall OSS, BSS systems. So that's continuing on pace. I'm awaiting a response back from CHR, who's building the actual interfaces to the Minerva and Calyx Cloud and all that stuff to give me a definitive based on their capabilities currently, because obviously things are in a little bit of disarray. I was hoping to have that today, but I don't. As soon as I do, I'll pass it along to Tom, and he can pass that along to the board. That said, though, I'm not sure if the board's familiar with it or not, but with the large grocery store coming into town that wanted services May 1st, what we had to do was basically build kind of a fallback system to enable them to have services and be able to capture that billing on when their services go active May 1st. So what a large group of us have spent Friday and the weekend and yesterday completing was an internal process to effectively be able to, using that as the model, to have kind of a temporary solution to allow Vinton to turn up customers, even if, let's say worst case scenario, that system isn't ready, the virus gets to a point where you can safely start installing homes and businesses that aren't exceptions, to be able to have basically a temporary system in place to allow you guys to do that, to be able to capture that revenue, while if that CHR project is delayed, to be able to make sure that that's not inhibiting the revenue income for the utility. So that there's still a few moving pieces, because it sounds easy in concept, but it's a lot trickier than it sounds. But we've got the structure and framework in place internally. We have different folks working on the different pieces and going through and making sure that we're not missing a one if. So with the billing system, obviously bill generation is one part of it, but there's a lot more to the billing system as far as inventory management and systems troubleshooting, things like that. So we're also working on being able to have a solidified way to make sure we can do that well if we have to wait till the full system's up. And obviously during that time, we're not going to be billing you for the billing services. We're not going to start that till that's fully up, obviously. But so we do have a fallback plan in the event that you're in a position where you can start safely installing folks to be able to do that.
Did I hear you say that the fallback plan, this internal process, is completed, or that you worked over the weekend and you're getting closer? Just want to make sure.
The structure and the framework are. Our goal internally is to have that done, and it's completely within our control. There's no third-party companies that we have to rely on, so we'll have it done. But obviously we need it done by May 1st. That's when the grocery store wants to go live, so we need it done before that. So I'm not sure what day of the week that falls on, but at least 5 days prior, business days prior to May 1st. And again, that's completely within our control, so we'll get it done.
Okay, thank you. I'm busy writing things down.
Sure.
Okay, do you have any more information on the billing system at this time?
That covers on the billing system unless anyone has any questions on it.
That's what I was going to ask. Any board members have any questions about the billing system?
I do. Can I ask just a couple? I won't go too deep, I promise.
Okay.
We can take this in a different direction, but does the billing system also include order management? Is it all an integrated component?
It does. So it includes auto provisioning via the Rontos with the ONTs. So it will require manual provisioning until that's up. So there's a few, caveats to this. Obviously if it wasn't needed in a perfect world, we wouldn't have it. But it will require manual provisioning. As far as troubleshooting and isolation, it becomes an issue at a certain size and scope, but with a limited, if it's 1 or 150 customers, somewhere in that area, maybe 200, it's a lot easier to manage. Obviously, once it gets to a certain scale, that becomes untenable and it gets sloppy.
So how are you receiving sales orders today? How do they get into the system or get to IMON?
In the temporary system world or the permanent world?
Today, I don't know.
So the temporary system we have is I'm building just basically a simple form for Tom, Angie, Curtis, whoever's interacting with the customer to basically say, here's all the data we need. Just fill out that form. We're going to take care of that, make sure we keep that in our repository. And then once the system is fully online, we're going to migrate that information basically manually, just one by one, and making sure that's all over. So obviously that includes the billing elements, but also the equipment and serial numbers and all that good stuff.
So we have, you guys keep me honest, 500 or so orders. Are those hard orders, customers ready to go?
That's about right.
I think we're closer to 600 now.
Okay.
Okay. And so Corey, do you have those? Do you have those 600 in a list, or do we have a database somewhere? How are we managing that list?
I don't have that data myself. I have what's needed for that initial grocery store, but I haven't seen any data beyond that.
Okay.
The plan that was discussed was that staff will manually input those, at which point the billing system is ready. But I don't know if that means the permanent billing system or this temporary version of it.
And I can address that. So once everything's up, full running and regular, the decision was made to have Angie and her staff do that first data entry.
Okay.
The key reasoning there is they're going to be the ones that had a conversation with the customer. If they send us the bits of the data,
right,
we're opening ourselves up to the possibility of someone misinterpreting something or an error. So that way the person having the conversation with the customer at least gets that data entry in, and then all provisioning and everything from there is IMON once everything's up, running, etc.
So we have the ability to start billing tomorrow if you had a list of people that wanted to start?
Tomorrow, no, but before May 1st, yes.
Okay.
So how do we have that list today? Is that in a spreadsheet or a database? Where does that exist?
They're, I believe, in a spreadsheet, Tom. If you'll correct me on that. There's a form online, right, on the website. That is the form that not only customers have been going in and signing up on their own, saying I want 100 meg internet or whatever, but then any other manual orders or phone calls that Angie and the crew have been getting, they've been inputting in there as well. So everything should be in that same database. But of course, that won't translate directly into what the real billing is, and that's why the manual entry will be a way to proof that and make sure everything's accurately entered.
Yeah, and that makes sense. That's why I'm saying you probably want that list sooner than later. You know, that's 500 entries you're gonna have to make. That's
well, and just one item for clarification, just to kind of paint the broader picture. It probably wouldn't do IMON a lot of good to have that list of the requests, primarily because it's going to be David's group via Patriot doing those first rounds of installations.
Right.
So it's really going to be between FAR and Patriot and Vinton to decide kind of that order, and then we process those as they flow, basically. So, you know, whether it's all right, we're going to install these 3 today, then we plan accordingly. So if I have the whole list of people that want it, there's not much I can do actionably. Longer term, once that first phase is completed, IMON will be taking over installations on your behalf. But for that first wave, it's Patriot as a subcontractor for 4. So
what do
we
we
get the data as it needs provisioned.
Okay, makes sense. So then that becomes a question of what do we think our turn up rate can be in a given week? You know, when we say, hey, May 1st, we're ready to go live, let's say, how quickly can we start turning clients on, customers on? Is that?
From a provisioning standpoint, that'd be more, for me, there wouldn't really be a top end that'd be practical. It'd be more of a manpower FAR question. David would be more equipped to answer that.
Yeah, I think that Logan will have 3 to 4 installation crews. They can usually do 3 to 5 residences a day, sometimes more than that, if they can get them lined up. So pretty much as fast as we can get them, Angie can get them to them, will be, and they can set up an appointment. That's what they'll do. And they have that list right now, do they not, Angie? Logan does?
Yeah. Well, I have a list of everybody who's put an order in. I have an Excel spreadsheet. And then I also have a file with all paper copies too. I've got 2 different sets. So I've got that up to date. And if they need it, I can just get it to whoever needs it.
Right.
Okay. I'm just trying to get a sense of how fast we can ramp up. So it sounds like 100 days, 5 a day. Is that what I heard?
Well, and then that would be, that's 1 crew. So if he has 2 or 3 crews out here, because he'll have at least 2 crews going, if not more. I don't remember exactly how many where he's at and what his schedule is, but I think he'll have at least 2 crews going.
Tom, didn't you say last meeting or so we had like 188 ready to go? All we had to do was have the billing system?
Yeah, I think the fiber was installed in that many now, and there's probably more installed since that time period. But
it doesn't sound like you can do 188 at one time. It's going to take a period of time to get them.
Right. They have to go in and do the actual conversion in the house, so they still have to do that. So basically, there's fiber up and wrapped in that clamshell outside the house, and then Logan, the Patriots guys, need to go in and then they finish it.
So it's not realistic to say we could turn on 188 people in one day.
No.
Yeah.
Not well. I mean,
unless you had a bunch of crews.
Yeah. The only way you do that is you have them all done and then you start turning them up. But you're going to turn them up as they go. That's so you can verify that it works. So the preferred method is to test.
And if I might ask a question, I've been out of it a little bit for the past few weeks. I got a few family members actually have the COVID, but has a decision been made as far as what the installation policy is going to be as far as that situation, or has that been determined at this point? Or
we have a policy that Patriot is finished up, and it's a standard operating procedure, and it basically dictates how they will go in. They're following the cybersecurity infrastructure security agency rules. So they've got a document ready. If nobody wants them into their house, they won't go in. They're going to be suiting up, wearing gloves, boots, face masks. They also, if one of their guys goes in and somebody's in there coughing or whatever, they don't have to stay. So it's a 2-way street as to whether they can go or not. So they got that done. We did have the city council and the board approve that we're moving forward with this. So we're kind of waiting right now because Patriot would have to spend a week setting up the first week of calls, and then it would be the next week they'd be able to start doing it. So I think we're getting very close to doing that. You know, we've just been waiting on billing if we have to have it done or not. You know, we can go and start turning people on. I guess I didn't want to get caught in this. We're giving free service away that MediaCom's going to have a hissy fit and the taxes and stuff like that. So.
And one thing I should put a caveat in, and I haven't been intimately involved in this the last few days, but I believe the caveat there is the internet voice ready to go. I believe there's still some technical things being worked out on the video side. So I believe when I say that, it's in reference to the video customers. I want to put people in the wrong direction on that.
Yeah, I think we're looking at maybe just going after the internet only people because it'll be quicker. We don't have to worry about phones working. We don't have to worry about the TV. And there's plenty of those out there.
Yeah,
So we
the
can
TV
pick them up and
more in the house.
get that going. And that's, you know, probably the thing we focus on.
Yep, makes sense.
So Gerald, I see a thumbs up from Gerald. So I guess he is at the end of his questions. Thank you all for answering his questions and all the rest of ours. Are there any other questions for Iman regarding the billing system?
I have a question, just as just clarity of timeline here. So it's already the 14th. If it's going to take Patriot a week to make phone calls, could they start doing that the week of the 20th, which is next week? And then if we have things really moving that we're going to be ready by the Friday the 1st, we literally only have 2 weeks left of April. So if we're calling people starting next week and the week after, and then we're up and running by the 1st, we could get into people's homes and get going, pending all this other stuff, right away in May.
Kim, this is Dave. I think that he's trying to get it for May at worst case, by that first Monday, full week of May.
Right.
So that if we can get Hy-Vee up, so if there might be a few that we do before that, if we can turn them up in effect like test customers wouldn't bill. But so he's going to see what the schedule looks like. So they're making calls right now. And if somebody's ready for them in April, they'll go in there and get it done.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay. At the end of the questions regarding the billing system. I don't see anyone else. Okay.
And then just one more quick thing as far as the operations go. Just to give everyone just an insight. So part of the agreement was for due diligence to have a dedicated technician along with the reserves in Benton. About a month ago, we did a complete hiring freeze only because we don't have the ability to onboard anyone, interview anyone safely. So up until that time, we're just going to be dispatching that normally as we would if it was someone out of Cedar Rapids. So just a heads up that technician won't be assigned, the services won't be affected, but it'll be out of a pool until we are able to safely hire and onboard and train someone. And again, obviously you'll still have all the rest of the people. We're going to have that primary person living within the Benton area.
Well, that's where I was heading with my conversation was anything else that you have for us, Corey? There's 4 other contracts we have with you. Anything else to discuss on those or any other information that you feel like imparting to us?
That's the only applicable information that I have off the top of my head, unless anyone else has questions.
So is the phone system ready to go then? I wasn't sure whether we got all the 911 issues resolved and Consortia seemed to think it was ready to go. I just want to know, I guess.
Oh, the 911, that's a whole different animal that's applicable with everybody new and existing. That's fine. Yeah, the voice has been basically good to go since November, December. So
yeah, I don't think we have anybody testing that right now, unfortunately.
I know we did a significant amount of tests in the lab. Getting dial tone is fairly quick and obvious. If you have dial tone, you have dial tone. But the big issue that you want to check for is just with lurk. So lurk basically is if you pick up the phone and you call the phone number in Waterloo that's CenturyLink, are there any routing issues there, and testing those and also testing the inbound. We had a bunch of, we basically are able to replicate your system in our lab. So we did a moderate amount of testing. But it's good to, if you've got someone that can test that a little bit more, just the more calls the merrier, because there's no way you can go through every single area code and prefix and have inbound calls too. But generally it's fairly well tested.
I thought Ashley Hessen was doing all 3 services.
Yeah, I think there was problems with whether her cell phone or whether we had to have a different phone. I'm not sure if that got resolved. Yeah, she was going to try to test the phone, but I don't know if it happened.
There is another business that is to be up by the 1st of May. 3D Kitchens is moving over to the building and they're looking to have that hooked up by the 1st of May. They would be using Fluent also. So hopefully when they come together, they can be testing that system for us also.
Yeah, I think on Hy-Vee, I thought I heard that their long distance, they were going to keep with CenturyLink and it was just the local phones that will be done here with our system.
They do. There's still a requirement for long distance on our end. It gets into the weeds a little bit, but even if you're using someone else for long distance, CenturyLink's going to have those same lurk issues. It's one single database. but there's different ways to route it. So basically, we have it set to route through CenturyLink for them. If that call goes and it gets rejected by CenturyLink, our system will take it back and route it through a different carrier of ours. So in essence, we still have to have that provisioned, but it'd be nominal. So.
Okay, anything else for Corey? And I'm on. I see heads shaking. Okay, thank you, Corey. It's been so long, my iPad went to sleep. Let's see. C, under old business, is update from Smart Source Consulting.
Well, I'll hopefully make my report short enough your iPad doesn't go to sleep. I sent Tom a memo here yesterday, I believe it was, that kind of has a summary of the activities, tasks that I've been working on and where we are with that. I don't know if you guys have a copy of that in front of you, but if you do, great. If you don't, I can kind of review it.
The board members all have a copy. I don't know if they have it in front of them or not.
Okay, great. Well, I'll just run over at 50,000 foot level and you can dig deeper if you want to dive through the clouds. We're pretty much done with all the NCTC stuff with the exception of the gotchas that the programmers always throw at us, where they come back and say, hey, thanks for doing all that paperwork. Now here's more paperwork. And then they have all these forms that you have to fill out. Cedar Falls has been helping with a lot of those because they're asking technical questions that I don't have access to. But we just finished one that was a 14-page questionnaire from the ABC Disney networks that included things like, what kind of security do you use? How many people have access to your central office? You know, just stuff. So we're working through those as they come up. Programming agreements are all complete except for Showtime, which is for some reason have gone radar silent with me. I did leave a voicemail for their contact today after several attempts at emails. They had sent me this questionnaire like the others that I got filled out back in January or February. And then ever since then, I've been saying, okay, you got the questionnaire, send me the agreement, but I haven't heard back from them. So I'll keep working on that. The local channel, the next on that channel 99, that local channel, the next goal is to set up training for Angie and the staff. Myself, I'll learn it too, because that's going to be used for all the local channel stuff. We've got to have some conversations when we get spare time with Tom and Angie about if we're going to allow other entities to have access to their own pages within that local channel platform, such as giving the school access so they can just go in and put in their school menus and not have to bug the staff. But first we want to get through the training and learn how all that works before we dive into that. Next step on the programming side, back to that for just a second, will be getting all the paperwork done for the Watch TV Everywhere product. That's the platform that allows you to watch channels on your iPhone or your iPad using an app from that programmer. They want us to have the market launched before they want us to do that. So as soon as we get up and running and we have paid video customers, we'll circle back around and finish that up. And then finally, the other thing I was going to bring up is now that we think we're beginning to see the end of the light at the end of the tunnel as far as freeze on installations, putting together a marketing campaign to get people excited and signing up. Because as you know, we've got 600 or so that have actually ordered services, but we have 1,600 out there that have had site surveys. So we obviously want to fill that gap so that all 1,600 have actually signed up for something. So we'll be working on methods to do that: newspaper, online, Facebook, and probably or potentially at least a direct mail campaign to those. So we'll be working on that and have something to go in May. I think the idea would be, let's get things spun up first, get Patriot back to work, start working that list of 600 that already have done pretty much their paperwork, and then we start hammering on the other 1,000 that haven't yet. So that's kind of my report.
Did we try hammering on them sooner than later? You know, maybe with follow-up, since we're giving them fiber now, everybody gets fiber. So should we be going after them more aggressive, maybe making calls to them or trying to get them signed up sooner than later?
I didn't want to do anything until we have something to tell them about when we can actually do installations. Now we're getting closer on that with Patriot. The worst thing you can do is get people all amped up about something and then say, great, you have to wait till July before we're even going to be able to do any work. So now that we're getting clearer direction from Patriot about what they're going to be able to do, then we'll certainly want to start drumming up that business again. Like I said, even with multiple crews, the Patriot people have 600 customers that have already done us the kindness of telling us what they want. So that will take some period of time to work through that. And the goal would be, while they're working through that, we're drumming up the next 600 to 1,000.
So in their packet, they've got the communication rates, which has been revised to April 14th. And I guess I thought you were going to fill us in on what the difference between this packet was and previous.
I only didn't go there, Tom, because I didn't see it on the agenda. So
well, it's part of 6C. That's
it's part of me. Okay.
I made it generic enough that we're going to do discussion, and if we have to take action, we will.
Well,
and my question is, you just talked about Showtime. That thing's not going to stop us from launching.
No, not at all. I mean, there's only a subset of your customer base that is going to want Showtime. So we're not going to stop the truck just because we're waiting for those guys to get us an agreement. It's just, I'd like to have it, so that your first video customer, if they want Showtime, could be able to get it.
Okay.
But on the communication rate policy adjustment, the main change into that is the addition of cable TV rates for commercial entities, and it's kind of a bi-level policy. For the one hand, just a normal business that is not serving beer and alcohol or food, they would pay the same rate as anybody at home. And that's the reason for that is the cable rates are the same as far as from the programmer standpoint. The difference is with what we call hospitality commercial businesses, so bars and restaurants primarily, they're going to pay a higher rate if they want the sports channels. So the reason for that is that Fox Sports, for example, is going to charge you, Vinton, a higher fee for that customer. And so you need to pass that along to the customer. So the rate policy amendment that's in there, basically you are just passing that cost on directly to the customer. So you're saying to that bar, okay, we're sorry, if you want these channels, you can pick and choose which ones you get, but you're going to pay the full cost of what we have to pay to the programmer. So, and so those are different by different channels. That's why they're listed all in that policy as opposed to being a more generic.
Is that the ones that are highlighted in yellow then?
Yeah. The stuff that's highlighted yellow in that policy are the stuff that changed from the last one. I'm going to call it up here just so I don't misspeak on anything. Thought I had that.
So does that change the flyers that we got out to give the people on the cost of services in?
Not really, because those are going to be kind of one-off things. Those we're going to handle on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
So your flyer, your general marketing material is for the broad case, and then when the sports bar calls up and says, hey, we want to get cable TV, then you're going to have a conversation with them about what that means. They know this already. They're already paying these surcharges to Mediacom. They're already paying these surcharges to DirecTV or Dish. So this will not surprise anybody. The one quirk of the way the rules work is you are allowed to a la carte, so to speak, those channels to those hospitality customers. So if they don't want to worry about having every one of those sports channels, they can just pick the ones that they want in their establishment. So if they don't like the Cubs, they don't have to pay for the Marquee Sports Network.
All right. I think we need to have a motion and a second to approve those changes, if that's what the board would like to do. Is there anyone who's interested in making that motion? Gerald has his finger up. Kim has a second. Motion has been made and seconded to make the changes that were outlined in yellow. You have something to say?
Just one point of clarification too. In addition to that section, there are some things that were added in section 5, miscellaneous non-recurring fees and charges. And those were things that we came up with when we're going to the process through with IMOD onboarding things that we didn't have in the original policy. Like, what do you charge somebody when they bounce a check on you? What's the labor rate per hour after hours, things like that. So those are also listed in there along with some miscellaneous, you know, cords and stuff like that. So those are also included in there under section 5 and 6.
So Gerald, by saying everything that was highlighted, you covered it all. Is that what you wanted? Okay, I see a thumbs up and an okay. All right. Any board members have any questions or comments to make regarding making those changes and approving this motion or not approving it? I don't see any action, so therefore we have a motion and a second to approve the changes to the policy that were marked in yellow. Again, I will assume all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say no. I hear no no's. I take that as a unanimous vote. Motion has been carried. We have made those changes. Anything else from SmartSource?
No, Tom, I'll get you an unhighlighted copy of that. So you got a clean copy.
Okay.
And then this will also be, obviously it's part of your official rate policy. So I think what we'll probably do, and maybe this is directed more at Angie and Tom, we'll put together kind of just like a 1-page thing for those bars and restaurants so they can see all this in a slightly more appealing form than a formal kind of legal policy document.
Okay, thank you. If there's nothing more for SmartSource, we will be going on to item number 7, new business.
Mr. Chairman, could I?
Yes.
Could I back you up? I got a little information I couldn't answer it originally.
Yes.
J&L is a drop crew for Central. They're doing drops. There's 2 crews doing drops right now, and they're going to start pulling fiber right around the 1st of May. So last week of April, 1st week of May, if they get far enough ahead, because it doesn't take them very long to pull fiber in. And I think that's what all we had. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything else under old business? Because it is difficult with this type of communication to see everything that's going on. Have we missed anything? Anybody else have anything else under old business? No. Okay, back to new business. Item A, community assistance options. This has been started from 2 different directions, actually. One was the letter to the editor, and then I had several direct contacts regarding things that citizens would like to see VMEU or the city do to help citizens during this time. The second angle was the mayor of Vinton and the city council had a joint meeting with VMEU, wanting VMEU to take action to not charge late fees for a certain period of time. Tom, I believe there's an actual, I think what's called a resolution maybe that you have that's written down.
That is for the electric utility. That's on the next meeting.
It's in the next meeting.
Yes, thank you. And so on this one, the discussion on this one had to do with internet access. And one of the suggestions was providing internet access for students during this time, ways to make that happen. The person that just brought this discussion up did not have a suggested solution, just that they were hoping to see something happen with that. So does any other board member have anything else about that particular item as far as internet access for students? I don't see anyone nodding. Kim? No? Okay.
But I don't know, like right now, like it's not anything that we can really do yet because not everybody has any access to it. But I mean, I think would be a different conversation if we were actually up and running with people installed.
Yes, absolutely. I think where this is going to, and there has been some work done in the background with the school. The school has done some work in the background. I'm not saying that anything has been done. And to this point, I wanted to mention to all the board members that by the time we get through this meeting and the next meeting, I'm looking for some committees to be formed. So Tom in particular will have board members to deal directly with. And on this particular one, for getting access to the school students, Kim, I'm looking your direction to be on that committee. Imagine that, because of your connection with the school. I'm hoping that you'd be willing to be on that committee. I was also thinking maybe Melissa would be joining you if she would be interested. Yes, you have the right to say no, or let me think about it. I'm doing it very public way here, but my point is that the school is, we can talk about the short term, what's happening right now, but the long-term projection for this COVID virus, until there is a vaccine to stop it or a treatment to cure it, we're going to have continuous waves of this for some time. There's no question that we're going to be needing access through the whole next school year. Excuse me. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat. The next school year. So Kim, is that something you'd be willing to work with, be the liaison to the school?
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you. And Melissa, I'll give you a chance to think about Melissa, or if you're interested, you and Kim.
I'd like to think about it. I do have a daughter that's pregnant and I'll have to be going with her. I'm not sure how much. I'll be off work for a couple weeks with that also.
Well, this will be an ongoing process, so I understand. You can just reply back to Tom, okay? And let him, and then I should say Tom or Kim, either one.
Okay.
I'll leave it this way. Kim, we'll leave you as the chair of the committee. If Melissa joins you, that's great. You may add anyone to the committee that you feel is necessary, and deal with directly with the school. The whole point here is that there is so much going on and so many different parts that's going on of Tom's job right now, that he certainly doesn't need to be talking to all of us individually. And if he has one person of contact, which would be Kim in this case. And with that, I'm done with the discussion about having internet access for the school at this time. Any other questions? I don't hear any, thank you. Okay, we'll get back to the rest of the community assistance in the next meeting. Our board meeting date and time. With the 2 new board members, it's the time to discuss our meeting date and time. 2 new board members, is this time acceptable to you? Will be through the next years, or now's the time to speak up?
Yeah, as long as I'm working from home, this works wonderfully. I have a harder time getting back from Cedar Rapids normally, but this time works fine.
It's fine for me also.
Okay, and the meeting date, the second Tuesday of each month? Yes, okay.
Yep.
I see nodding. All right. Any other of the 3 other board members, 2 other board members, any interest in the date, this time and date okay? Mike?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. And Kim, it's working for you?
Yeah, we're making life work around it when we're actually doing something. Now it's fine.
Okay, so we'll leave it at the current time and meeting date and time. No action necessary. Number 8, reports. I'll start with Tom.
Well, we've talked a little bit about it. I guess I want to, Patriot's got that standard operating procedure thing going on, which was good. I think he had one employee that was in a category where he didn't feel comfortable doing this due to whatever age or whatever, if he's got other conditions, and that's fine. He's got a lot of younger ones that are just chomping at the bit to move forward on this, so, which is good to hear. So we did send out a final notice to the 129 people that signed up for a site survey and thought they were done and never bothered to communicate with either Patriot or the I-Venton office. So Angie's starting to get people communicating back. So we might be able to pick some of them up and get some more site surveys accomplished yet. I don't know if you got anything, Angie, you want to?
We've had 45, I've got 45 people right now that most of them said they didn't have any types of correspondence with anybody, like calls, letters, notes on doors. But yeah, we're getting a good response from people now, so we're getting them.
Unfortunately, they didn't understand the 3-step process that it was going to take. They just figured, hey, I want a site survey, and they were done. And we never heard from them again. So, but other than that, I think we've talked about everything else I was going to bring up.
Okay, Angie, anything else for you?
Nope. Just getting a lot of phone calls. There's been some people that were looking to get internet service, of course, but because they're working from home, and so they understand, with our the way the community is right now with the COVID, that it's not something that's going to be doable at this time. But everybody seems very acceptable of that, so that's good. Of course, the lobby's closed, but I've been fielding a lot of emails and chats and phone calls from people. So I've been staying pretty busy here at the office.
Well, I guess I got one other thing, and that was Central Cable did have a big discussion with their crews on the safety issues, and I think they got most of the mayor's concerns taken care of. They got some young guys there, and I guess them riding on pieces of equipment, yeah, that's a no-no, but everybody was young once, and most of these people understand they've all done it, but I think we're good to go on, we shouldn't have any more problems like that.
Okay, that's good. Cindy, do you have anything to report?
Nope.
Okay, anyone else have a report? I think that's everybody. If not, we'll go for a motion for adjournment of the telecommunications meeting. Let's see. I see a second from Gerald. I can't see the first. Who is it?
Mike.
Mike?
Me.
Okay, so Mike, motion made by Barron, seconded by Horst to adjourn the meeting. I'm assuming all in favor unless we hear a no. Anyone opposed, say opposed. Motion is carried unanimously. Meeting is adjourned.
Tom, do you need me to stay on for the second meeting?
Probably not, Curtis. I think we're good.
All right, we'll save you some money then, folks.
Take care.
Thank you.
Yep, I'm leaving too. Have a good night, guys.
Yep, thanks.
And Corey, are you sticking around or are you gone already? Must be gone. Okay. This is usually when I ask if anybody needs a break. How do we do that in an electronic meeting? You can take a break whenever you want. Just let us know you're leaving. So we'll just continue on and call this second meeting to order, the Vinton electric utility. Roll call, Cindy.
Barron.
Here.
Ainstock.
Here.
Horst.
Here.
Meyer.
Here.
Mosier.
Here.
Thank you. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
Well, just more invoices.
Okay, so there'll be some invoices to add that you want to add to this one also, okay? Okay, that'll be under the approve invoices, okay. Motion made, who's first and second this time? I need to get the right pictures up here.
I'll make a motion. Looks like Gerald's second.
Gerald.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Motion was made by Meyer, seconded by Horst to approve the agenda. I'm assuming it's all in favor unless I hear no's. Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, I'm looking for a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. I see a first from Melissa and a second from Mike Barron. Motion is made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. We have 4 items under the consent agenda. The first one, receive and file VMEU board meeting minutes for March 10th and April 7th. Are there any questions or revisions or comments regarding those 2 minutes? I'm not seeing Gerald anymore, so I assume he's shaking his head also. Okay. And okay, move on to the second item B, which is approve invoices. So Tom, you say there's some additions. What are they?
Basically, there's stuff like the city of Vinton water sewer type things. Most of these were probably around. Well, there's $12,000, and the three biggest ones in there were billings from Shermco's that did a de-energized tap changer thing that we've been waiting on for. I think we got it approved last summer, and they actually have time to do some of these things for us now because they're not out of town and not available. So those were the three biggest ones on there. And then most of them are basically the similar stuff that we would normally get. Phone stuff from Creminga's, the U.S. Bank, which I've got to find more invoices on that one. That one's harder because people send them to me electronically and I get them printed out, and by the time this bill comes around I can't always find where they went to. But so there's probably about 12 grand that we need to get approved so we can keep paying these people. Some of that, there was $3,200 in there for equipment that the line crew bought for Hy-Vee and Quick Star, just equipment that they're going to need for their projects. Between that one and the Shermco ones, those were the three biggest bills. And I got those all this morning after all the claims were already out the door. So I think the shutting down the office and all that impacted my part-time once a month person. In fact, I'm not exactly sure. She showed up, but I don't remember. I didn't see her most of the day, and I was wanting her to train a couple of these other people that we have working for us so that I don't like having just one person knowing what's going on some of this, because hers is kind of important because it's closing out inventory on the plant, and not everybody's going to understand that until they get a chance to do it. So I had asked her to start training either Tennille or Cheryl, and it didn't happen yet, so I'll be working on that.
Okay. Any questions from board members regarding those invoices or the invoices that were sent to us by email?
The only invoice I didn't get that I was kind of surprised, I don't think I received anything from Central Cable for the month of March, and they maybe haven't billed it yet. You know, they were gone and then came back, so they maybe are going to catch it up next time. I don't know.
Yeah, they haven't billed yet.
Okay. Otherwise, I got bills from just about everybody else that we normally would have gotten bills from.
Okay.
A bill from Terry Dern on the light pole. Did somebody knock one down or something?
Oh yeah, that was last summer. And
so we're just fixing it now.
Well, we did get the insurance thing, and
Okay.
it went to a different utility account, I think, instead of this one. So yeah, we're squared on that. We just never got them paid quick enough. I thought the person that the firm that hit it was going to take care of it themselves, and they didn't. So
okay, I just want to make sure we got an insurance claim.
Yeah, we got the insurance claimed on it.
Yep.
Yeah, we go through one of those once a year.
Yeah, that's about right. What vehicle had $14,000 of repairs?
It was one of the
7,500
trucks, one of Brad's trucks.
Okay.
And we got we want to buy a new one. I'm not sure which one he's got up there. We're kind of falling behind in the age of these trucks, so you know the expenses are going to be higher till we get something that doesn't need so much repair.
We got that budgeted going forward?
Oh yeah, it's in there.
Okay. Is he looking then for something?
He will. I mean, normally what we try to do on those is split it out so that we can split the cost between 2 fiscal years, pay for part of it in, say, June, and then the rest of it in July.
Yeah, we're just getting close to the end of the fiscal year, and so if he starts looking.
Yeah, I'll have him looking at it.
Okay. Any further questions? Okay. No further questions about invoices. We'll go on to C, receive and file March financial report.
I have a question about the financial cash report. Just curious, since I'm new to this, is it typical to have the expenses at a higher percentage than planned and the revenues at a lower percentage than planned? Is that a seasonal thing or just part of the fiber work, or what would cause that?
I'd say most of it's because of the fiber project.
Okay.
Did you also move some stuff from expense to work in progress on the balance sheet this month?
Correct, yes.
That's going to screw it up.
Okay.
Okay, good questions. Make sure we all understand what it means. Any other questions about the financial report? Not at this time, huh? Okay.
I didn't say I understood what it meant. I just had a question.
I didn't say that you did. I said that we all need to.
I'll keep doing my homework then.
Yeah. We all will keep doing our homework, Gerald. Okay. Moving on. Approve the monthly energy adjustment rate.
Yeah, I'm going to need some explanation on this if you don't mind. I'm not sure what that is.
What we have in the base rate is 5.5 cents, and it used to be 2.5. So the ECA used to be 40% of the bill because they didn't have the base rate high enough. So that's the cost of power that we buy from RPGI, and it only includes the energy component. The power that we buy from them includes transmission and getting it here. So and then the top part of the adjustment is the fuel that we ran through and what we generated. We throw that all in there. So we get a cost per kilowatt hour, and if it's higher or lower than the 5.5 cents, the difference will be this ECA. So right now it's running slightly negative, which it hasn't done that it's done that ever since we got the rate change to 5.5 cents. But if everything came in at 5.5 cents, there wouldn't be an ECA.
So does that mean we're buying our energy less than our rate?
No, the rate that we charge has the other things in there, like the salaries, the distribution, the equipment and all that. So that's what takes it up, say residential up to 11 cents. That's all the other overhead items on there. The energy component is only around 5.5 cents out of that 12 cents.
And by energy component, you mean what we expect
buy
to
off the
buy,
grid.
or what our rate is to our customers?
Well, it's what we buy off the grid.
Okay. And you're saying we were able to buy it less than our planned 0.055? Is that what this is telling me?
Basically, yeah.
Okay. And so if it were positive, it would be more expensive than we would normally plan at the point.
Ideally, you don't have an ECA. And we used to have a horrible one where it was 40% of the bill. And that's because the base rate was only 2.5 cents when the cost of the energy was 5.5 cents. And we went through a cost of service back in 2016 and made that change then. And they hadn't made a change in that in that base rate for almost 10 or 15 years. So.
Okay. So, but just, I'm a little slow on this. I apologize. So what I'm
no problem.
Trying to understand is this would be the way we would pass through additional costs of energy we're buying or additional savings of energy we're buying. Is that accurate?
Well, yeah, and the energy we buy doesn't include the energy that we're consuming or the fuel we're consuming at the plant. We got a boiler on the line all the time to keep everything heated in case the grid goes down. We can throw some units on fairly fast and carry the town. So it's a standby backup right now, and we're trying to collect those costs through this ECA.
So Gerald, to help answer your question, what you said was basically accurate. And the goal is, of course, to have that ECA as close to zero as possible. And we've been so close, just above and below, well, since I've been on the board, probably ever since they've changed it. Basically, as long as that number is somewhere close to zero, it's really not a concern either way. But
now the thing is, it's been retroactive because the ECA gets applied to the energy component used the next month. There's some places that'll do a 3-month rolling average, and we could do that. It might flatten things out a little bit because you have these peaks in the summer with high usage, or in the winter with really cold usage and that. So that's the only bad thing about it is the ACA isn't applied to when it actually took place.
Okay. All right, but it's an attempt to try and level our costs with what we're passing through.
That's
to make
true.
that as close as possible.
Right.
Perfect. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions regarding the energy adjustment? It is a small negative number this month. Okay, that gets us to the end of our consent agenda. We already have a motion and a second. Again, I will assume it's all ayes unless I hear a nay. Anyone opposed to approving the consent agenda, say nay. I take that as a unanimous vote to approve it. Motion is carried. Number 4, receive and file communications. Anyone have anything?
No.
Nope. Cindy, nothing? Okay. The only other ones will go on down to A under new business. Okay, this is now time.
Input.
Yep, I say it's now time for citizens input. Okay. Just foreshadowing. It's time now for citizens input. Chris Ward, you out there?
Yes, I am. I'm still here.
All right. Do your magic.
So now's the time for anybody that wishes to address the board for citizens input. So same as it was for the communications board, just hit the little button at the bottom and signal, or feel free to speak. If there's anybody out there, I'm watching for you. Come on. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody. No, that was just my phone. Never mind about that.
Okay.
There just has not been anybody as of yet. So.
Okay, Chris, if somebody happens to break in the next minute or so, just let us know.
Sure will.
All right, thank you. Moving on to number 6, old business. Once again, an update from FAR Technology on the electric side. Dave, you're on.
Pretty much the same as, I'm not sure if we have anything new on that, Tom, or not. Did you really?
No, I'll probably change it that you give both updates. I mean, basically it's Central Cable, I guess for Gerald and Melissa, Central Cable infrastructure is mostly the electricals ownership, and they'll lease back to the communication, where just about everything else is on the communication side. So, and we can't have the electric subsidizing, so that's why it's in here in 2 different locations.
Yeah, in effect, electric owns part of it per your bonds. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, if there's nothing further, I'll go on to old business B, solar update. The solar update is something I have on the agenda. Amy Edison had given a report last month discussing solar possibilities for the city of Vinton. I guess what I'm looking for tonight is some direction from the other 4 board members in particular as to whether or not there's any interest to pursue this. If so, what I'm looking for is that I'm willing to take this committee on as my assignment, in addition to the chair responsibilities, and that it would, what I'm looking for is to go out and take the solar companies that have shown interest and seem to be viable options and see what it is they can do for us. I'm not interested in wasting their time if the board is not at all interested in this. The size of the system that we keep talking about is about 1 meg, which is about $1 million. There are 2 different ways to finance this. One is use cash, well, 3 actually, use cash reserves to purchase it and have it installed. Second would be to bond it and use bond funds to purchase it and have it installed. The third is a PPA, a power purchase agreement, which means someone else owns the facility and we're just buying it. Basically at that same, about that same 5.5 cents that we were just talking about buying it from someone else. The real advantage to that is that, of course, we don't use any of our own money, but we also do not end up owning it, and someone else makes the money. But we do continue to lock in our rate at whatever the rate is that we agree to. So I guess all 3 of those ways of financing it are up on the table. That's a discussion for a much later date. if we get that far. So what I'm looking for is, does the board want me to stay in contact with these vendors and see what type of proposals they could bring forward to us? My concept is if you want me to do that, I'm not going to say 1 meg. I'm going to say, how much solar can you provide us for $1 million? Do it the other way around and see what it is. That way they can go out and find out whatever the best efficiencies they can find, the best setups, however they can do it to get us the most bang for our buck. So that's the angle I'm thinking about pursuing it. Doesn't have to be what we do. I'm going to stop talking. Any of the 4 board members have anything they want to add?
My opinion right now is we got enough going with the fiber project. I just soon get that done and get all those costs figured out before we take on another bigger project. That's my opinion.
I agree with that. Let's just wait and see how much this ends up being. The cable bill.
Rich, and this is Gerald. I don't know what was proposed, so I'm at a pretty distinct disadvantage to know what the update was. Do you have any material or any information that I could go look at from the last presentation?
Yes, Amy Edison agreed to provide a either electronic or a hard copy. Yeah. I will see if she can send it. I will see if I can get a copy sent to you. I'll send it to everyone, of course.
I'd appreciate that. I'd be interested in seeing it. I have no idea what I'm, agreeing to or not agreeing to at the moment.
Right. Well, again, we're only asking you to agree to the general idea that we want to go forward at this time to look at this. But I will check with Amy. Kim, you're out there?
Yeah, I'm here. Information is never a bad thing. Information is usually always free. But I'm riding the fence. Doesn't matter to me either way. If we look into it now, if we look into it later, I don't care. I'm impartial, sorry.
Nothing to be sorry about. That's your opinion. That's why we're asking. Okay, it sounds to me like Gerald needs some more information. Kim and I are on the fence, and the other 2 are saying we have enough going on right now. I'm going to take that as my answer, unless somebody wants to direct me otherwise. I'm hearing crickets. Okay, we will move on. Under new business, a resolution to temporarily waive utility late fees. Tom or Cindy, you have a copy of that? Can you read it to us, please?
Okay. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has posed a serious threat to the health and safety of the residents of City of Benton, and whereas Code of Iowa Section 372.14 grants the mayor the power to declare an emergency proclamation to protect the health and safety of Benton citizens, and whereas Benton Mayor Maynard on April 7th of 2020 has declared an emergency proclamation, and whereas the COVID-19 pandemic has impacted Benton residents and businesses financially, whereas VMEU Board of Trustees and City Council desire to assist Benton residents and businesses during this virus outbreak, and now therefore be resolved by the VMEU Board of Trustees and the City Council of the City of Benton to temporarily waive charging utility late fees and tag fees as set forth by the VMEU Service Rules and Rates Schedule and the Benton Code of Ordinances for the duration that the state of Iowa recommends sheltering in place or social distancing or the closing of certain businesses.
Okay. Any questions about what that resolution says or what we're being asked to do? I don't see anyone. Okay. If we're going to approve this temporary waiver of a late fee, we even need a motion in a second.
Yeah, council did pass this last Thursday.
I was gonna say, didn't we already do this at the council? But
okay. Cindy, is that correct?
Council did approve this last Thursday night.
Okay, so it's already been approved.
The city side is obviously the water, sewer, landfill, garbage.
On the
I
city
think we voted then too.
What was the question?
I think they did it at their last meeting last Thursday. It wasn't at the joint one.
It wasn't at the special meeting. That was.
It wasn't on the special Tuesday meeting. It was at their own meeting.
That was my understanding also, that we discussed it at the joint meeting, but we had to take action separately.
Yes.
Okay. So we would need to take action if we are going to waive our utility late fees for, I see a first by Gerald, a second by Mike Barron. Any further discussion? Same process as before. I assume all ayes unless I hear no's. Anyone opposed? Motion carried unanimously. There isn't anything on the new business specifically stating other options for assisting Vinton residents, which would leave it so since it's not on the agenda, we could not take action. Do we want to have any further discussion on that tonight?
I think the only thing we'll want to maybe do is, and we could put this out at Vinton Today or whatever, we need to make sure people understand this is not saying you're not paying your bill, you're not getting late fees, because we got people calling that office thinking they don't have to pay their bills now. And we went through this with the mayor before. Since the federal government is giving these people money to pay their utility bills, that's what they need to spend that money on, or they can't go out and buy a new car or clothes with that money. They have to pay their utility bill. So I want to make sure people understand that what this resolution does, doesn't give them a free check ride on the utility bills themselves.
Understandable.
We can do contracts with people. The Iowa Utility Board, we can go up to like a 12-month contract if someone gets behind for say 2 months and they want to stretch it out over the next 12 months. We can do that. We prefer not to go that long, but we will work with them if they just give us a call and tell us, if they want to divide it over 2 months, 3 months, but we can go out to 12 months if necessary.
So I think we ought to have an explanation when if this thing gets approved and goes out, that we need to explain it to people so they understand this is just for waiving the late fees. You still need to pay your bill, and you can get a contract if you got trouble paying it.
Perhaps a press release would be a good idea, Tom?
Yeah, probably.
Get ahead of the curve and we choose the wording that what goes out. Okay.
We're still going to have people that don't pay their bill, but it has nothing to do with the virus anyway. So
well, that happens every month. So
yeah.
Yep. Okay. I didn't hear from anybody saying we wanted to discuss any other options, so I'm going to move on to the agenda. New business B, meeting time and date. We already discussed this for the other utility. We assume it's the same here. Moving on. New business C, rate design study update. Tom?
Well, okay, back in 2016, we hired Berg Consulting, and they came up with the new rate design we got now. At that time, we didn't really have much going on with the fiber project, so I contacted him, and he's given us a proposal. I'd like to have him review to see the rates that are set, how will those impact with this bond thing going on now, and with leasing the fiber to the communication. I guess I want to have his set of eyes on this because he created the rates for us last time just to review, because we didn't have fiber utility in progress at that time. And I just thought it'd be better to get ahead of it now if there needs to be changes, or at least maybe reallocation on where some of that money that's being collected is going to be used for.
How often is a rate study, design study done just under normal cycles?
Well, that probably all depends. It'd probably be a 3 to 5 year type thing.
Okay, so it's been 4 years, and we've certainly had changes since the last rate design.
Do we have good numbers yet, though? Because since everything's still up in the air, to put them in now, or should we wait a year once we get everything settled down and fiber, the lease income, the payments are the payments, but it seems like we don't have numbers on anything to really give him anything to change right now other than the loan payments.
No, and that's why he's splitting this out into 2 different sections, realizing that we don't have all the information it's more for what's coming down the road. We could look at it in June to see how things are finishing out, because we'll have a better idea in June what's happened and what the future's going to bring. So, and I told him we didn't have to have this done right away. It was something just to talk about and you know, see if we want to do it. It's going to take, you know, maybe a year before we're done with this. Just for the simple fact that you said, we don't have all the known information in to make any decisions anyway.
So Tom, this is Gerald. I have a question about that. I guess how would our rates change because of the fiber project?
Well, at one time when he was working on this thing, the question came up to him as to if we were to add or go out and bond for either 13 million or 15 million. And it was really to find out if we relocated the plant or did that, what would that do to the rates? And I think if I remember right, it was going to bump rates up 15%. So we just wanted to find out what the impact was.
Oh, okay. So that would have been, if you move the plant though, you said that would be
if we moved the plant or put new units out there. And that was just a generic number, you know, what was going to do. So we didn't do anything with that, but now we've got the, you know, the $6 million bond on the electric utility. So how are we going to, you know, pay that back, I guess?
That should come back with their lease income from the communication. So those two hopefully will offset. That shouldn't, you know, the other project, we were spending all the money ourselves, bonding ourselves, but this one, we're supposed to be generating income to offset those payments, aren't we?
Yeah, and I'm not sure the lease amount was covering anything but the interest rates right now. If I remember from Todd Kirkhoff, when he was talking about it months ago, 6 months, a year ago. I mean, and we didn't have any bonding done at that time when he was talking about it.
Right, but hopefully, if this thing goes like we hope it does, the lease income should cover both, shouldn't it? Principal and interest?
Well, that's what I hope for, but...
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and if it doesn't, didn't you say the electric can't subsidize the communication side?
That's correct.
So I'm trying to figure out how, again, I'm new to this. I'm trying to just figure out how that communication side would impact the electric side. If the communication
Since it can't supplement, we'd have to increase our lease income to offset the payments because we couldn't be subsidizing them.
Yeah. And there was other projects besides the fiber project on the electrical side. There's a high voltage conversion, which we're doing now too. I think most of the equipment's been bought for that. And then the biggest expense was labor expense. And that was a big swag by the consultant. He didn't know what it was going to cost. We'd go out to the union hall and get bodies if we needed them. We weren't going to hire new people, and we weren't necessarily going to contract it out because I think Brad's trying to keep a good control on when that gets done so we don't have customers shut off for long periods of time. And I guess
last month we had all the materials purchased and our guys are going to do it themselves.
Yeah, but we would probably have to hire supplemental labor because we don't have a staff big enough to do everything ourselves.
So it is going to cost us some money more than what we were thinking.
Well, they had $3 million. We know it's not going to cost $3 million.
Do we?
Yeah, because most of that was labor, and they were guessing at their labor costs.
Do you have any solid numbers on what it should be?
Well, I'd like to think it's going to be maybe half that amount on the labor.
Okay, I'd feel more comfortable if we kind of had a solid number so we know what to compare apples to apples.
Well, and this isn't a project that we have to do in 1 year. We got a 5-year plan for that. So we take on what we can do, and if we can't do it, we wait till next year when things can be done.
Is it safe for our guys to be doing the high voltage stuff?
Better be. They're certified linemen.
Okay.
That's why they get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between the high voltage and the other, isn't there?
Well, they're going to be shutting stuff down. They're going to make this safe. That's why we want to control the outages when we're doing this. And that's why I think Brad wants to have more control over this than if we were to say we're going to hire some outside firm and have them do it for us.
Tom, I think we've gotten off of our new business item C, which is the rate study update. We'll get to your report, which is really what you're talking about now in just a moment. I'm hearing from the board that at this time, I don't hear anybody wanting to move forward on the rate design right today. I would say let's revisit that over the next few months, especially I would say like after the 1st of July, because a lot of the telecommunications things we're going to know something by the 1st of July.
That's okay.
Sound reasonable?
I just wanted you to be aware that, you know,
Yep.
we might want to have that done because things have changed since we did the last study.
Yep, I appreciate that. And it is probably time to do another rate design study anyway. But again, we want it as accurate as possible. Okay, so moving on to 8 reports. Now you're up for your reports, Tom.
Okay. Well, the line crew's been doing a lot of locates and they're complaining to me about it, but I told them that was progress because we're getting fiber installed. So they got a lot of those coming in. I bought a lot of spray can paints for them to mark the red down, and they're out there trimming trees now, which is a good time before it's easier to cut them down now before they got the leaves and the green on them. And I think they're pretty close. There's still a few meter change outs they need to do. But other than that, they've been really busy. Shermco worked on our tap changer. That's part of the bills that we got in here. And that's been something we'd want to do for at least 6 months to longer. And worked out that they didn't have any work to send their guys on some of that. Instead of laying them off, we said, well, we got work we need to have you do. And so we picked that up. And the only other thing that is a problem right now is we got problems with our boiler. It's got some age problems. It's only 10 years old, and I don't know. It's I'm used to equipment running at least 20 years, and if it was American made and 30, 40 years ago, that thing would last 30, 50 years. But the stuff don't last that well now. So I'm getting some information together on different costs of just doing temporary fixes for say $14,000. Versus buying a new boiler for 2 or 3 times that amount. And we don't have competitive bids yet. I got to find out who else can supply a boiler. Some of the equipment we had isn't being made anymore. So it's not like we can buy it and think they're spare parts. So I'm just letting you know that problem does exist. We're going to get through this next year, but I'm going to try to get some pricing information and so that thing don't get away from us. And that's, I think, the last thing I was going to bring up on the VMU side.
All right, thank you, Tom. Sandy, do you have anything?
If you hear someone that has issues with their billing or not being able to pay their bill, tell them to give us a call. We'll work with them. We do take debit and credit cards over the phone now. They can sign up for ACH. Otherwise, we still use the drop boxes. We're still at City Hall. We're just not open to the public. So.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have a report or any questions?
I just had one on, Tom sent us an email. I have requested, a breakdown of the project. Is there any way possible you can break that down between communication and utility, electric utility? It's all.
Yeah, I thought about that, and yeah, I got to do that.
Just because there are separate entities, I thought it'd be best to keep them separate.
Yeah, well, I'll probably use the same spreadsheet and put another column and say, here's the ones that are electric and here's the ones that are communication. Similar to what I did with the fiscal year. All the fiscal year, the blue was whatever fiscal year the blue one was, 18, 19, and then the other orange was another fiscal year. So I can do the same thing to mark the utility.
Yeah, I appreciate that, but I just thought if you could break them down by utility, it's easier to tie back to what we're borrowing.
Gotcha.
Okay, thanks for doing that.
Okay. Any other questions or reports? We are to the end of our agenda for tonight. Who wants to hold their finger up and be the one who makes the motion to adjourn? No, Melissa was in fast, and Kim's the second. Motion made and seconded for adjournment. All those in favor will be aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. No one's opposed. I take that the motion is passed unanimously. Thank you all. It's been an interesting evening. Let's see, we've got an hour and 41 minutes into the meeting. It's longer than we'd like to have, but we made it through, had a lot to talk about, and have a good evening. Bye.